We begin today the Gemara on the first line of Daf Chav Beis Amud Aleph, Omar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So the Gemara before brought a statement from Rav Huna Bereid Rav Yeshua regarding a person that's coming from a different city and he wants to open up a business, a store here in this city, and he's a competition to someone that's living in this city. So even according to the Chachamim that say that in this people that are living in the same city, there's no issue of a sagas gvul. You can open up a store right near someone else in the same city, but not someone that's coming from a different city. He's not allowed to open up a business over here as a competition. So on this, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak comes and says that there's certain limitations to this halacha of Rav Huna Bereid Rav Yeshua. The Gemara is going to bring a few points here actually about this. So Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Umayde Rav Huna Bereid Rav Yeshua, Rav Huna Bereid Rav Yeshua would agree, B'reichlin hamachzirim ba'yaris. When you have peddlers that are going from one city to another, and generally these peddlers would sell the cosmetics for women. You're not allowed to stop him from coming here and selling things in the city, even though he's coming from a different place. Because the master said that Ezra tikkun lehen Yisrael, Ezra instituted for Yidden, that peddlers should be going around from one city to another selling their cosmetics, so that women should have their cosmetics available for them. But the Gemara adds and explains this exception that we're saying here, that's only la'aduri. This peddler is coming around and he's allowed to make his way through the city to sell things. But to come and establish a place, a store in this city, if he doesn't live here, that's not allowed, like Rav Huna Bereid Rav Yeshua said. Now, another exception is if this individual that's coming from another city is a Talmud Chacham, then nami will allow him even to establish a place of business in the city. Like the story that happened with Rava. He allowed these two Amiroim to establish a place in the city, even though they weren't from this place. And the Leike Hilchas said, this is not according to the halacha, and Rashi says what it means is this is lifnim b'shuras adin to allow these Talmid Chachamim to do this. My time, why? Even the Rabbanan because they're Rabbanan and they're busy learning, if you're not going to allow them to have an established place, they're going to have to go from one city to another, it's going to prevent them from their learning. So therefore, to not take away from their learning, we allow them to establish a place here to be able to make parnasa. So here we're going to see another exception. There were those people that are selling baskets, the Isi Dikloi leBavel. So they came to Bavel, they brought their baskets to sell in Bavel. Also B'nai Masa, so the people of the city came, they were stopping them of selling their baskets here. They came from another city and they're competition to people here in the city, so they were stopping them. Also, so they came to Ravina to get him involved in this. So Amalahu, Ravina says to the people of Bavel, Me Alma Osu, they're coming from another place, Ula Alma Lizvino, and let them sell over here to people that are coming from other places here to buy their baskets. Meaning, the place that they were coming, why did they come there to Bavel with their baskets? Because it was a place where there was a market day where everyone comes to sell their things in the marketplace. So people from all over are coming here. So in such a case, in the marketplace over here, they can come and sell to other people that are coming from all over to buy. But for Hanimili, when does this exception apply? If it's on that day of the marketplace and they're selling it in the market. But if it's not on the day of the market, then they can't sell. And even on the day of the market, that is, it hasn't been said that someone from a different city could come and sell there. If they're actually selling only there in the market for all people that come there. But to go around in the city itself and to sell to people in the city itself, so then that's not allowed. Another case, another story, there were people that were selling wool that came to sell wool in Pomnara. Also b'nei Masa, so people of the city came, and were stopping them of selling here if they're coming from another city. So they came to Rav Kahana. Amalahu, so Rav Kahana said to these people that came from somewhere else, selling their wool, Dinahu, the ma'akvi alaychu. They're right, they have the right to stop you from selling your wool here. Amrulei, so they said to Rav Kahana, there's a reason why we have to stay here for a while, because Islan Ashroi, we have Ashroi b'medbachir genaz b'masa, we have people here that bought from us on credit, and we can't just leave. We have to wait here to get paid. And therefore, in this time that we're here, we have to make a living. So we have to be allowed to sell something to be able to make parnasa. Amalahu, so Rav Kahana said to them, okay, so here's another exception, that zilu zavnu shiachiyu saichel, you can sell for whatever you need to live for half of your parnasa, ada krisa ashraya didchu, until you'll be able to collect the credit from the people that you sold them credit, and vazlisu, and then you have to leave, you can't continue doing business here in this city. Another story that happened, Rav Dimi min Nerdo. Rav Dimi that came from Nerdo, I see groigris besvina. He came with pressed figs on a boat to come and do business in another city. Amale Reish Galusa l'Rove. So the Reish Galusa says to Rove, Puk chazi, go out and see. Itzur b'merabananu. If he's a Talmud Chacham, then nakat le'shukah. Then give him the rights to sell in the marketplace. And actually, Rashi says he was saying, give him the rights and announce that he's the only one that can sell these dried figs in the city. So Rava tells Rav Ada Barabe, his student, go and snuff out. This is an expression that's used when you smell wine, to see the taste of wine. Go and snuff out in his barrel to see whether he's a Talmud Chacham or not. So Nafak, Rav Ada Barabe went out, and he asked of him the following shaila. Pil shabola kfifa mitzris, an elephant that swallows a basket that's made in Egypt, which is made from willows. Vehekia derech beisarei, and then it came out from the body of the elephant. So mahu, what's going to be the halacha with this basket? Do I say that it's a basket, which is still a keli, and just like it swallowed it came out in the same condition, so it's still makabel tumah? Or do I say that because it came out from the body of the elephant, so now it's not considered to be a keli anymore? So it's not makabel tumah. Taisus here actually says that the case is that it swallowed the materials of this basket, not a full basket, because a full basket that was swallowed and came out in the same way is still considered to be a keli, as Taisus brings from the Gemara in Menachos, but it just swallowed the willows and then it came out. The question is whether this would be makabel tumah or not. Lehave biyodeh. He didn't have the answer to this question. And Taisus actually brings that there's another place where the Gemara asks this, and there it remains a bayda lo yifshita. The Gemara doesn't ever answer this question. But so even though he didn't have the answer, because this is not a simple question to answer. But Amalei, so one that went out, who is it over here? Rav Ada bar Abba, that went out to ask him and see if he's a Talmud Chacham, and says to him, let me explain that again. So what happened is that Rav Dimi says to Rav Ada bar Abba, Mar Niu Rava, are you Rava? He was wondering who he is. He thought that it's Rava himself that came to test him to see if he's a Talmud Chacham or not. Tafach le b'sandale, Rav Ada bar Abba hit him on his shoe in sort of in a degrading manner, and Amalei, and he said to him, Ben didi l'Rava, between me and the level of Rava iketuve, there's a lot of distance, meaning that he was only a student of Rava. But Miu, then he said to him, Al karchach, against your will, Ana Rabech, I'm your teacher, and V'Rava is Rabbe de Rabech, and Rava is the teacher of your teacher. So basically, he failed the test to demonstrate that he's a Talmud Chacham. So Lenaktule Shuke, they didn't give him the rights to sell his figs in the marketplace. Pased Greigris, he lost all of his Greigris, his figs that he brought here to sell on the boat. Greigris the day. So after this, also the Kamed Rav Yosef, Rav Dimi comes to Rav Yosef and Amalei, and he complained to Rav Yosef, Chazi Mar, my Avduli, did the master see what they did to me, that they didn't allow me to sell my figs there? Amalei, so Rav Yosef said, Man de loishoy lo unisa de malka de Edom, the one that didn't hold up the punishment for those that embarrassed the king of Edom and degraded the king of Edom, lo neshaya lo unasech, will not hold up punishment for the ones that degraded you. And the Chsiv, there's a pasuk that says, Kayam Hashem Ashloisha Pishe Mayav. The Eibush says for the three things, the three sins of Mayav, Valarba, and for the fourth one, Lo Yashivenu, I will not let it go. And one of them was Al Sarfu Atzmais Melech Edom Lisid, that they killed the king of Edom and they burnt his bones and they used it in lime and building materials. So over there, the Eibush punished those that did this to the king of Edom. How much more so, he says to him, Rav Yosef says to Rav Dimi, the Eibishter will take revenge of those that caused you this embarrassment, or didn't allow you to sell the figs. So what happens, like the Gemara, Noch Nafshe, the Rav Ada bar Abba. Rav Ada bar Abba, after this incident, passed away. So now here the Gemara brings that different Amiroim in that time all came and said that it was them that caused that he should pass away. So Rav Yosef said, Ano Amnishtei. I'm the one that caused this punishment. Because the Ano Lat Yiseh, as the Gemara just said here, the story that he's the one that cursed him, that because he degraded Rav Dimi, so therefore he cursed him. Rav Dimi from their da said, Ano Nishtei, I was the one that caused this punishment, because the Afsid Greigeris Didi, because he brought the loss of my figs, therefore I was makbid on him, so I'm the one that caused him to die. Taisus over here says this wasn't some kind of competition. They were all trying to take credit for the fact that he passed away. Adarabah, they were all lamenting the fact that they caused an einish, such a severe einish for another year that he should pass away. Taisus here brings that anybody that they were all sad about the fact that they caused this einish. Abaye said, "Ana nishtei." I'm the one that caused this this punishment for him. Why? Because the Amalul Rabbanan, because of Ada Barabe, which was a student of Rave, he would tell the Rabbanan, Adam Garmisu, Garmi Be'abaye, why are you sucking the bones by Abaye? In other words, he compared the learning of Torah by Abaye as just bare bones without any flesh on it. Su achlu bisra shmeina be'Rave. Come and eat fat meat by Rave. The learning of Rav is on a much higher level, so he also degraded the learning of Abaye. So Abaye says, I'm the one that caused this punishment for him. Rav said, Ano anishtei. I was the one that caused this punishment for him. Because we see over here that even though he just praised the learning by Rav, but he actually didn't respect Rav. When he would go to the butcher, to buy meat, he would say to the butcher, let me take before the servant of Rava that's coming to buy for Rava. Because I'm on a higher level, I can even learn better than Rava. So here we see he didn't respect Rava. Yeah, true. He was a talmud from Rava. The Mashal Taka asks that before, when he spoke to Rav Dimi, he tells Rav Dimi that between me and Rava there's such a great distance. And then he says that I'm your Rebbe and Rava is the Rebbe of your Rebbe. So Mashal actually says that when he said that before, the way to translate the words of the Gemara when he said that Rava is the Rebbe of your Rebbe, what he meant to say is not that Rava is my Rebbe and I'm your Rebbe. What he meant to say is that Rav Yosef, as we see, Rav Yosef was Rav Dimi's teacher. And he was saying that Rava is the teacher of Rav Yosef, which is your teacher. But he wasn't saying that Rava is his own teacher, because as we see here, he said that he's on a greater level than Rava. And the Gemara says another Amayr took the credit for this, so to speak. In other words, he was complaining, he was sad that he caused this punishment. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, Anon nishtei. I was the one that caused this punishment. The Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Reish Kala Hava. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak was the head, the one that would give the shir. Reish Kala usually refers to the shir on a Shabbos, on a Yom Tiv. Kol yoyme nekama denei lekala. And all the time, before he would come in to give his shir, Marit Bahadei Rav Ada Baraba Lashmaite, he would go over quickly what he was going to be saying at his shir with Rav Ada Baraba, and Vahadaraya Lekala, and only then did he come and give his shir. There was one day that Rav Ada Baraba wasn't there for Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. What happened? How was he delayed? Naktua, Rav Papa, Rav Huna Bereder, Rav Yeshua, Rav Ada Barabe, Rav Papa and Rav Huna Bereder, Rav Yeshua held up Rav Ada Barabe Mishum Lehave B'Siyuma, because they were not there at a Siyum. Actually, it says either the Siyum means that they actually were not part of this idea that Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak should become the Reish Kala. So I guess they weren't happy about that. So they were holding him up of going to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Another Pshat Rashi says, as you see from the continuation of the Gemara, that there was a Siyum of Masechta B'Chayris. And Rav Papa and Rav Huna Bereder, Rav Yeshua were not there by this siyum of Bechayris, and therefore they wanted to hear from Rav Ada Barabe what was taught there. So Amrulei, they say to Rav Ada Barabe, Eimalon Hanish Maitase the Maisa Beheme Heicha Amrinu Rav. The last Pedic of Masechta Bechayris talks about the halachas of Maisa Beheme. So they wanted to hear, how did Rav teach the halachas of Maisa Beheme at that siyum? Amalahu, so he told them, Hachi Amarav. He was telling them, he was relating to them what Rav said. So meanwhile, Nagale, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak was delayed, and he didn't start his shir. Rav Ada Barabe did not arrive yet. So Amrulei Rabbanon, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So the Chachamim, the students that were waiting for the shir of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, they said to him, "Come, get up, the Nagalon. It's already late. Lama Yosef Mar, why are you sitting? Why are you not starting the shir?" Amar lahu, so he said to them, Yesivne, I'm sitting here, and the commentre la'arse de Ravada Barabe. I'm waiting for the coffin of Ravada Barabe to come. In other words, he understood that Ravada Barabe passed away. And this was because he was waiting, he was makbid for the fact that he wasn't there on time when he was supposed to be. And Adahachi, in the meantime, Nafekala, the rumor came out, the Nafshe de Ravada Barabe, that Ravada Barabe had passed away. And he was like waiting for his coffin. So the Mefarshim say this must have been on a Yom Tov, because on Shabbos they wouldn't be allowed to bring his coffin. So it must have been on a Yom Tov. On Mistabre, the Gemara concludes from all these different Amiroim that say that it was them that caused this punishment, that Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Anshe, that Rav Nachman by Yitzchak was the one that was right. A person that had a wall that was positioned in his courtyard, right near the wall of his neighbor that had the one in his courtyard. And now that wall, as the Gemara simply first explains, that what the Mishnah means to say is that then what happened is that your wall fell down. So now, lo yismach lo kaisel acher. Now, when you're coming to build back up your wall, you're not allowed to build your wall right near your friend's wall. Elam kein hirchek mimenu arba ames. There has to be a distance of 4 ames between your wall and your friend's wall, as the Gemara will explain the reason for this. Hachaloines, if there's windows that your neighbor has in his house, and he has those windows there for 3 years, and Rashi says because once he has those windows open to your property, so now he has already the rights to have those open windows, and he gets the sunlight open to your properties. Now you want to build a wall now in that area right in front of his windows. So bein mul mailon, whether you're building your wall that's going to be higher than his windows, bein mul maton, whether you're going to build a wall near his windows that is going to be lower down than his windows, or bein kenegdon, or whether you're building a wall blocking his window. So arba ames, you have to give a space of 4 ames between your wall and his window. And the Gemara will explain this as well, what this is about. We had this already before mentioned in the Gemara. Okay, so first the Gemara starts with asking regarding the first case of the Mishnah. The Kama, the first one that built the wall here near your wall, heichi samach. How did he build his wall near your wall? Because the simple pshat of the Mishnah is, as it starts, Misha Haya Kaisle Samach, meaning that in the beginning there were 2 walls that were right near each other. And now one wall fell down and you want to rebuild. You can't rebuild near his wall. You have to build 4 amas away. But how are they near each other in the first place? Amar Rav Yehuda, so Rav Yehuda says, no, they weren't near each other. Hachi ka'amar, this is what the Mishnah is saying. Habal lismach, one that comes to build a wall near his friend's wall, for the first time. Lo yismach, you can't build your wall near your friend's wall, elam kein hirchik mimeno arba amas, unless you're going to distance from your friend 4 amas. So Taisa says, the way the Gemara is understanding what it says in the Mishnah, Misha haya kaisle samoch, it doesn't mean near your friend's wall, it means your wall was near the border of your friend's property. But there was no wall that was there first. So now you want to build a wall near his wall for the first time. And that's what the Mishnah says, you have to distance 4 amas. So this the Gemara asks, Maskef le'Rave, sort of asks in this, but Vaha Misha haya kaisloi samach lekaisel chavere ketani. But the Mishnah does say that your wall was near his wall. So not like the pshat that I just mentioned, Taisa says that the Gemara is saying that your wall was just near the border of his property. No, the Mishnah actually says that there were 2 walls that were near each other. So what's the pshat in the Mishnah? So Elo Marave, so Rave says that you have to understand the Mishnah as follows. Hachi Katani. Misha haya kaislei samach lekaisel chaverei, but it was berichak arba amas. 2 walls that were near each other from neighbors, but there was a distance of 4 amas between them. And v'nafal, and now your wall fell down. Lo yismach le kaisel acher, when you're coming to rebuild your wall, don't build it closer to your friend's wall. Elam kein hirchak mimeno dal damas, unless you'll have that same distance of 4 amas between them. My time, what's the reason for this? The dafsha the hacha maili lahasam, that because the people that are walking in between the 2 walls are going to be beneficial for the ground that's near the other wall, your neighbor's wall, that it should be the earth should be strong and tough, that they should be able to hold the foundation of the wall. If you're going to build your wall near the other wall, so over time the foundation will get soft and you'll ruin his wall. That's why you have to have space between the 2 walls. Again? Near. Well, you can't have other things like things that cause heat or other vibrations. Those are things that ruin another person's wall. But a wall near another wall, seemingly it doesn't cause any damage to the other wall. So the Gemara says, no, it doesn't directly cause damage, but you're preventing people of walking there, that will then the ground won't have the right, won't be sturdy enough to hold the foundation of the other person's wall. So the Mefarshim here say that the way the Gemara explained the Mishnah, that there was a wall there before, and it was a space of 4 amas, then it fell down, and it's telling you that when you rebuild, you should keep that space of 4 amas. Why is the Taistis here actually asks the question, why does the Mishnah have to be talking about a case where there was a wall and it fell down? Why can't the Mishnah just say the Mishnah, the din, that you're not allowed to build a wall near another person's wall, 4 amas? Taistis doesn't answer, but I think Rabbeinu Yaina says that when the wall was there already up there, and it's an old wall, so you would think that the foundations are already strong enough, and the earth is the ground, the foundation is good, it's sturdy enough, and now maybe you could build your wall near as well when you're rebuilding. So it's saying no, even after all this time, and it's an old wall there, you still can't build your wall near as well. Omarav, so Ra says about this, Loishanu ela kaisel gina. The halacha was saying here is only regarding a wall that your neighbor has by his garden. But if it's a kaisel that he has in his courtyard, that's not an issue. You can build your wall not right near his wall. Because if it's a kaisel of a garden, so then on his side of the property in the garden, nobody is stepping there. So the soft earth there in the garden. So the foundation of the wall depends on the other side where people should be able to step there. But if it's a kaisel in a courtyard where people can step on the other side of the wall anyways, that the earth should be strong enough, so then you can build your wall near as well. But Rabbi Yisha argues and says, Echad kaisel gina, ve'echad kaisel chatz. It doesn't make a difference whether your neighbor has a wall in a garden or in a courtyard. In Baal Lismech and Isamech, you want to build a wall, you can't build too close to his wall. Rabbi Yisrael bar Chanina said, V'loi pligi. Rav and Rabbi Yisha are not arguing. Be'ir Yishana. Here it's talking about a city that has already an older city and it's older walls. So in such a place, walls that are in a courtyard, you're allowed to build near as well because it's already has good foundations. And Be'ir Chadasha. Rabbi Yishia was talking about in the new city, so that even walls in a courtyard, it still doesn't have a good foundation, so you're not allowed to build a wall near as well. Tanan. So now the Gemara is going to ask here on this reason that Rava says, Dafsha, that the reason why you can't build a wall near your friend's wall is to have the space for people to walk between. But what did it say in our Mishnah? Hachaloines, someone has windows open to your property, and now you want to build a wall near his windows. Bein mil mailon, whether you're going to build a wall that's higher up. Bein mil maton, whether you're building a wall that's going to be lower than his windows. Bein mikenegdon, whether right across his windows. Arba amas, you have to have a space of 4 amas. Abatani Allah and Abraisa explained. That's the reason for this Mishnah is mil mailon, if you're building a wall that's higher than his windows, kadesh lo yotzitz, so you shouldn't be able to look into his window. V'yira, you can see him, take away from his privacy. Maton, if you're building a wall that's going to be lower than his windows, so you also have to lower it 4 amas, shulayamid v'yira. So you should be able to get up, stand up on your wall, and then look into his window. Or mikenegdon, and you're building a wall right across of his window, shulayafel. You have to give a space of 4 amas, not to take away the light, the sunlight from his window. That's the explanation that the Brisa says for what it says in the Mishnah. But what's the question now? Taime shaloyafel. What we see over here is you can't build a wall too close to the wall of his house in order not to darken the light of his window. Avol mishum dafshe. But the reason that Rava said before, a wall near his wall, that there should be space for people to walk in between light. That's not a requirement. That's not an issue with this wall here. And says the Gemara, Hacha b'mayaskinon, in the Mishnah and the Braisa, when it says this halacha that you shouldn't build a wall near his wall to take away the light from his window, v'ba menatzad. When you're building a wall from the side, what this means is that we're not talking about 2 walls that are parallel to each other, the length of the wall are parallel to each other. That's over there, there's halacha of dafshe. You want to build a wall, the entire length of his wall, you have to have a space of 4 amas for people to be able to walk in between. But over here, your neighbor has a wall that's going in one direction, let's say it's extending from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, and you have a wall that you want to build near his wall that's going to extend from Tzafin to Darim. So it's only the thickness of your wall that would be blocking the light of his window. But most of the space of his wall is open for people to walk near, that the earth should be pressed down. So therefore it's not as far as that the dafsh is concerned, it's not an issue. Now v'kamo, says the Gemara, how much is the space that you have to distance your wall from the wall of your friend's wall? So in the Braise, the Gemara is asking because in the Braise it didn't give a share, even though in the Mishnah it said Arba Amis. So the Gemara here is asking based on what it said in the Braise. Omar Yeve, or the Bach says Omar Rav Yeve Chamua, the Ashian Bar Nadvach, the father-in-law of an individual by the name of Ashian Bar Nadvach. He said Mishmei de Rav, in the name of Rav, Kimloi Reichav Chalein. You only have to distance the width of a window, which is 1 tefach. So that's the amount you have to. So you can build your wall very close to your friend's window as long as you distance 1 tefach. The Gemara is still going to ask right away that in our Mishnah it says that you have to distance 4 amas. Taisus over here says, why is the Gemara even asking a question of a kama if the Mishnah clearly said 4 amas? It's because really Rav Yever bar Avua, or Rav Yever that is, wants to say this chiddush in the name of Rav, that this shear of 4 amas in the Mishnah does not always apply. As we'll see, the Gemara is going to conclude the point in a minute. But first, the Gemara asks, if you're giving such a small shear, that you can have this wall right near your friend's window, there's just a distance of 1 tefach between your wall and his window. If that's the case, v'haloi meitzitz. If so, you could look down, you could peek into your friend's window. And Rashi says the Gemara's question is, even if you're going to do what it said in the Mishnah, that your wall is going to be 4 amas higher than his window or 4 amas lower than his window, but you're so close, you'll still have the ability to bend down and peek into his window. Amar Rav Zvit, so Rav Zvit says, no, that what you have to do is, b'mader es kaislai. The top of your wall has to be slanted, so you don't have the ability to stand there in that area and bend down and look into his window. But now the Gemara asks on this point that we said here, that you only have to distance 1 tefach from his wall, but the Mishnah clearly said 4 amas. And says the Gemara, loy kashya. There's no contradiction, and this was really the whole point that he was coming to say this chiddush. Kan miruach achas. If you have your wall near his window, just on one side of his window, like mentioned before, he has his wall, and then you're building a wall on the side of his window, meaning that his wall is extending from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, and you have a wall that you're building near his window, going from Tzafin to Darim, and it's the thickness of your wall is right in front of his window on one side. So over there, you have to distance 1 tefach. Kan mishtei ruchos. However, if you're building 2 walls from both sides of the window, that are going to be right, the thickness of your walls are going to be right near his window. Over there, the Mishnah is saying that you have to distance 4 amas. Toshama, the Gemara has another question here, and what Rabbi said, that you have to keep space between the walls in order to have dafshet, so people can walk there. The next Mishnah here says, you have to distance your wall from another person's house, where he has the wall of his house and he has the gutter on the roof. So you have to distance your wall 4 amas. Why? To give your neighbor space to be able to put a ladder there to go up to the gutters in order to clean them out. So what do we see from this? The only reason you have to distance your wall from his house where he has the gutters on the roof is so to give him space to put a ladder there. But for people to be able to walk between the wall, your wall, and the wall of his house, that's not necessary. Answers the Gemara, no, it is, like Rav said before already. But here, when it talks about distancing your wall from his gutter, what we're talking about is b'maschila mishupas. This is a wall that comes out from a slanted roof that comes out from a person's house. The imishum dafsha, if you have to distance your wall just for the space between your wall and the wall of his house, there is space to go under it. As she explains, like it is with these houses that have the slanted roof, the roof extends further out from the wall of the house, so there's space to walk in between. But in order to have space to be able to climb up to the gutters, you still have to have an added 4 amas, or an added space 4 amas to be able to put that ladder there. That's so therefore it's not a question on Rav's halacha.